Hello everyone, welcome to the video on Mathematics 10, and today we're going to talk about trigonometric equation. Before we start the lesson, there are some prior knowledge that you need to know. One, you need to know how to solve some simple equations, one-step or two-step equations. And you also need to know how to undo the trig ratios using the inverse trig ratios. After this lesson, you'll be able to determine the value of unknown variables in trigonometric equations, whether you're finding the angle using the inverse ratios or finding a side length in the fraction. Let's try the first question. Solve for the angle. Tangent of theta is equal to 10 over 3. So this equation is a very simple equation. Let me write down the question first. Unlike the previous types of equations that we've been dealing with, we cannot isolate the variable using the operations that we know of. We can't multiply, we can't divide, we can't plus or minus or square root and whatnot. Our goal is to isolate our variable theta. The theta has tangent attached to it. So how would I do this? Well, I need to remove the tangent. And in order to do that, we need to use the knowledge that we learned in the previous class. We need to arctan both sides. We're going to do arctan on both sides. And when I do that, my arctan of tan on the left-hand side will cancel out, just leaving the theta on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, arctan of 10 over 3, I need to use my calculator. Let me grab the calculator. Arctan, usually you press the second or shift or whatever tool that you need to do. Arctan of 10 over 3. Just make sure that you're in the degree mode. So on my calculator, it shows up as 73.3. And let's just make sure that we have not equal sign, but approximately equal sign. The 73.3 degrees is an approximate answer, so we need to leave it as approximately equal to sign. Let me annotate the process. So we do apply arctan to undo the tan. And then use calculator for the arctan of 10 over 3 and use approximately equal to symbol, which is two scribbly lines, like that. Let's try the next question. Solve for the side y for the equation sine of 15 degrees is equal to 5 over y. So this looks like a complicated equation, but it's actually a very simple equation. We just need to somehow isolate y. So let me write down the question first. In this type of problem, one thing that I'm not happy about when I see this equation is that the variable y is in the denominator side. Usually we don't like it when the denominator is when the variable is in the denominator. Well, what do we do then? Well, one easy way to solve this is to multiply both sides by y. When I do that, I'm going to have sine of 15 degrees times y is equal to 5, because y will cancel out. At this point, I realized that, oh, my variable is not in the denominator side anymore. It's just a linear equation. Now it's just one more step. in order to isolate y, I need to get rid of sine of 15 degrees. Notice that I'm not undoing the sine, I'm getting rid of the sine of 15 degrees. And sine of 15 degrees is just a number. So that means I'm going to divide both sides by sine of 15 degrees. Which cancels out the left-hand sides. So I'm going to have y is equal to 5 over sine of 15 degrees. And obviously, in order to compute that, we need to use our calculator. So let's use the calculator. 5 divided by sine of 15 degrees. And on my calculator, it shows up as approximately 19.3 degrees. 19.3. This is not a angle, so it wouldn't be 19.3 degrees. The answer would be 19.3, approximately. Let's annotate our process here. First step was to multiply both sides by y in order to get rid of the variable in the denominator. And then divide both sides by sine of 15. And then use calculator to compute 5 divided by sine of 15 degrees and use the scribbly line. So in today's lesson, we learned about how to solve different types of trigonometric equation. We call it trigonometric equation, but it's very simple. You just have an equation that has some sine, cosine, tangent attached to it. So when you have the variable inside the trig ratio, the sine or cosine or tangent, then we need to undo the sine, cosine, or tangent. And for that, we use the inverse trig ratios, the arcsine, arccos, and arctan. And for that, we need to use your calculator. If your variable is not inside the sine, cosine, tangent, if it's just in the numerator or denominator, we just have to simply solve it as if you're solving a linear equation. So we need to solve by either multiplying both sides by something or multiplying both sides by the variable and then dividing both sides by whatever we have. Don't be afraid when you have the trig ratios because sine of 15 degrees, cosine of 30 degrees, these are all just numbers. When you have the sine of x, cosine of x, tangent of x, that's when you need to undo the sine, cosine, and tangent. Thanks for tuning in this video, and I'll see you in the next one.